What's up, guys? The Pangolin here, back with another video. And today we're checking out CBR's 15 worst written anime heroes. Now, if you don't know, CBR, I think it's called Comic Book Resources or something like that. They're known for having some, iffy articles about anime. They cover other stuff too, but mainly I'm here for the anime. I think IGN is also one of those sites who do similar kind of articles, maybe The Gamer, sites like that. They're gonna have their opinions. I have my opinions. We all have our opinions, but I just want to check out what they think of the 15 worst written anime heroes, and I'll let you know if I agree, disagree, and let me know in the comments. Do you agree or disagree? They have 15. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know if I know all the shows or if I watch all the shows. So I'm just gonna skip to the ones that I've seen personally because I don't want to comment on something I haven't seen. And yeah, just putting that out there. Let's get into it. Okay, let's start off with number 13. They got Demon Slayer, Tanjiro Kamado. Tanjiro Kamado is a young man on a vendetta to destroy the king of the demons, Muzan. Despite only being 15 at the time of the attack and having no training, Tanjiro holds his own against both his newly demonized sister Nezuko and the water Hashira Gyu Tomioka. Furthermore, Tanjiro's ability to survive against former and current lower moons of the Kizuki is a bit of a stretch for someone whose demon-slaying journey has only begun. Understandably, Tanjiro is the protagonist who fans are supposed to root for, but he succeeds in situations that seem utterly impossible. He even survives after being decimated by Gyutaro and Demon Slayer's Entertainment District arc. While other characters share his untouchable problem, Tanjiro stands out for many of his nonsensical successes. Okay, interesting start. I'm not actually mad at this one. I don't really have an issue with Tanjiro personally. I don't think he's the most interesting protagonist of all time, but I think he suits his series. To be fair, in a series like this, it's kind of, all the characters around him tend to be more interesting than him. Maybe other than Zane too. But to be fair, I think he works for what the series is going for. For what CBR is saying, though, I think they actually make a decent point that for him to hold his own that early in the series, I know he's meant to be strong because he's been putting in work, putting the family on his back with his father, or after his father's death, and he has the hard head, the hard skull, whatever, and clearly we find out later on that he had some kind of lineage. But really, without any training, it is kind of wild that he was tanking as much as he was tanking. Let's be real. So I'm not mad at that. I think it's kind of, I don't know. I think even to bring up the Entertainment District arc, I think by then he had a good amount of training. So, pro tag powers, that's just kind of how it goes. But this one I'm not mad at. I think they make some decent points for Tanjiro. Ooh, interesting. So next up, number 12, they have Izuku Midoriya. My hero, obviously. Like many protagonists nowadays, Izuku Midoriya begins his journey as a nobody and explodes into total heroism. There's a short montage of him training to get into UA in the first season, and he struggles with how to use smaller amounts of One For All. After that, Izuku faces very few struggles beyond using up his time and energy to fight opponents at My Hero Academia. No matter the situation, Izuku always comes out unscathed. Izuku also miraculously escapes after fighting with Shigaraki. Plus, his inherent need to be everyone's hero only puts his friends in more danger as they try to protect him. Midoriya would be a great character if he ever faced a single consequence that lasted behind one fight. I think I said consequence weird. Okay. This one, I'm not sure about. I think we do see Izuku struggle a good amount as the series goes on. I mean, it's kind of a self-imposed struggle, but they do put the limits on him because his body can't keep up with his power. He kind of struggles with One For All for a few seasons. Obviously, he just starts using it anyway, and then his body's breaking down, and then the doctor comes in and says, you only have so much more you can, overshoot your limits, go beyond, as they would say. But I see what you're saying. Early on, he does struggle, and then he kind of just takes off, and he becomes OP and gets different power after different power after different power. But saying he comes out unscathed, there are some fights where Izuku, he's quite beaten up after, he's quite injured, and it doesn't really stop him from continuing to go on. But I think I think this is an easy character to dunk on, My Hero's reputation. But I don't actually fully agree with this. I think Izuku, he isn't like Tanjiro, he isn't the greatest main character, but I think he does have his fair share of struggles. I think in My Hero, more than most series actually, because, and maybe to the detriment of the series, there are a lot of training arcs. Like in between big arcs, there's a lot of, we're going against Class B, we're training with our Class A. We're doing a lot of training and training and training. And it kind of slows down the pacing of the show. But I think it would be unfair to say that we don't see him actually going through the growth rather than just skipping it in a montage or something. So I don't know. I don't know if I agree with that one compared to the Tanjiro one. Okay, here they have Shiro Emiya from Fate Stay Night Unlimited Blade Works. And I'm not gonna lie, I have watched this, but that was like 10 years ago at this point. I'm not gonna lie, I don't really remember much about Shiro specifically. So I'm gonna skip this one because I can't really give honest feedback. I need to rewatch these. This and Fate Zero. I really enjoyed those shows at the time. I need to rewatch these, but it's up on the screen. Pause it if you need to pause it, and let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree with what CBR is saying about Emiya. But I'm gonna move on to the next one. Ooh, this one should be interesting. I know this guy's a fan favorite, right? Takemichi Hanagaki from Tokyo Revengers. Takemichi is a downtrodden adult when he's accidentally transported in time to his middle school self in Tokyo Revengers. He eventually discovers that he is there to save his old girlfriend, Hirata Tachibana, from being killed in the future. Takemichi eagerly takes on the job and frequently goes back and forth in time. Sadly, no matter what Takemichi does, terrible atrocities continue to befall Hinata. Takemichi is not strong or particularly wise, making it difficult for him to effect change. Plus, he constantly cries, which can get tiresome. Unlike a lot of heroes, Takemichi cannot seem to catch a break, making audiences feel sympathy for him rather than rooting for him. That's an interesting take. I mean, I wouldn't say it's a unique take, but that last line, feeling sympathy for him rather than rooting for him, honestly, I'd say most people just feel annoyed by him rather than rooting for him. I mean, to be fair, they didn't really say too much here, but it is true. Takemichi just... Actually, the name of the first opening of Tokyo Revengers is called A Crybaby. Could not be a more accurate title to describe this guy. Really just a whiner. I enjoyed season 1. No matter what people say about the show now, I'm not going to cap and say I didn't. I enjoyed season 1. I thought it was just a fun show. And even despite enjoying it, this guy just like, it's hard to really to get behind him. I'm not going to lie. It's hard to root for him. Because on the one hand, it is realistic. He's just a normal dude. He doesn't have any superpowers, even though all these other like middle schoolers are superhuman strength and superhuman durability. Doesn't really make sense. But the fact that he's actually accurate to what I don't even know what he is, like 14-year-old Japanese boy power level would be, quote unquote, it makes him super lame in the show, and he never really gets like actually stronger from what I swear I got up to. Maybe he learns a little more battle sense and tactics, but even then, like, it wasn't really hitting like that. I don't know if that makes him poorly written or just the show's framing in general kind of poorly written. I think the whining may be poorly written, but that's how you want to frame your character. Then you really can't be too mad at it. It's just not for you to watch. And to be fair, for a lot of people, it wasn't for them. So, it is what it is. But I guess you can argue that is poorly written. I'm not mad at this one. Oh, here's the big one. Here is the big one. Eren Yeager from, obviously, Attack on Titan, one of the GOATs. Eren Yeager has had a mixed reception over the years. Many feel that he is a great character because of his complete personality change. Others feel that the change was too severe. However, after so many seasons, many fans forget what Eren was like at the beginning of Attack on Titan. Eren's desire to go beyond the walls and his motivation for slaying Titans are both solid plot lines. However, after Eren plugged the hole in Trost, there's a large chunk of time when he does not do much. He practices being a Titan and he fights Reiner, but once he's captured by Rod Rice, all of his initial fire seems to leave him. He does not try much to escape and is only a husk of his former self. Even once he is free, most of his appearances are in his Titan. But the fans like Eren's transition from hero to villain, there's no denying that he did not have much growth in the middle of the story. Interesting. This one's actually kind of tough to rebut, only because I think this takes place maybe season 2, early season 3, and that's probably the part of the show I remember the least about. Yeah, but there was a lot of political intrigue going on around Eren, so I guess you could say this is a fair take. I will say though, Eren maturing was a long process. And it's easy to say, okay, there's just a crazy switch when he hit the basement and he just becomes a completely different character. But really, that process starts super early on. And as we find out by the end of the show, it may be even before his birth. So maybe you could say there's not much going on in the middle of the story for Eren. But I think all those things happening to him and all those revelations that he slowly start to come out, reveal himself, are all part of his maturing process. I think it actually works stronger if that happens over a long period of time. I think if it just was a quick snap decision and all of a sudden he's the edgelord Eren by the end, then I'm just trolling when I say that. I'd take it easy, but I don't think that would have worked as well. I think we need the time with Eren to see him mature a bit, even if it seems like he's a shell of himself. This is Eren learning things that he never knew before, and slowly his perspective on the world is getting changed before we even see like the massive switch that happens with the basement and his father and all that. So I don't know. I don't know if I agree with this one. Maybe I have to go back and rewatch. Well, I need to rewatch the whole show at some point, but especially season 2, season 3, part 1. I kind of forget about that period sometimes because season 3, part 2 to me is the peak. So that's like fully in my mind constantly. But this one, let me know in the comments, what do you think about this one, if you have a better recollection of that period of Attack on Titan. What was really Eren doing during that time? Let me know. Okay, this one I cut off the name at the top just so I could fit the whole description in the page, but we should all know who this is. Kirito from Sword Art Online, probably one of the most famous anime characters of all time, so really the name isn't needed. Sword Art Online was a cultural phenomenon when it first released. Kirito's harrowing tale of being trapped in a virtual reality video game delighted fans with this relatively new premise and exciting sword fighting. Kirito is especially impressive as he learns how to dual wield swords. Unfortunately, Kirito's inhuman luck starts to go beyond the suspension of disbelief. I thought I was going to say stats. The more episodes fans watched, the more nonsensical Kirito became. Every character appears to either be in love with him or fall by his hand. He rarely fails, and even if he does, the mistakes are being played as minor inconveniences so as not to affect his heroism. Eventually, every character's obsession with Kirito gets old, and the show is not as much fun to watch since Kirito has no stakes. I mean, what hasn't been said about Sword Art Online already and Kirito? I think this is fair enough. Though, to be fair, some of the points you do say are less about Kirito being poorly written and more about the cast as a whole being poorly written. So all these characters being obsessed with him, that's on them, and that's on how you write those characters. And of course, his harem, it gets absurd. Asuna, to be fair, Asuna does have some interesting parts of her character. I think it kind of gets shelved later on, especially in Alfheim. It kind of gets shelved later on because we're really pushing Kirito to the forefront, and she becomes just kind of like a housewife or something. But Asuna did have some interesting developments early on. But for the most part, I'm not mad at this. There's a reason why this is so high on the list. Kirito kind of is like a blank slate character who just like fit the perfect mold for this kind of show. And as you can see, in the 10 years plus since this aired, a lot of characters are following in his footsteps. So as quote unquote poorly written as it might be, clearly it works for this genre. People just want a blank slate they can impose themselves on. And what's it called? Power fantasy. Yeah, people just want that power fantasy. So if that's what they're going for, you can't really be too mad at it. But that's all I gotta say. That's it for this video. Let me know what you think in the comments about all of the characters that popped up on this list that we talked about. Poorly written, not poorly written, CBR tweaking, did I get it right? Let me know. I'm very curious, especially for the ones that I don't remember too much about. Maybe I'm missing something, so let me know. But thanks for watching, especially if you made it this far. But if you have even 5 seconds to spare, it'd help a lot if you like, subscribe, and all that good stuff. I'll be back either next week or the week after with a new video. Appreciate you watching. See ya.